So I'm Justin King, a solutions architect with ZeroStack, and I've been hassling my admin for resources. I've been wanting some servers, and he's been holding off over and over and over again. So then he found this ZeroStack solution, and he said, I've got you some resources. So I've logged in as a user here. I'm just going to go through this for the sake of time, but I have a project. A project is a boundary or grouping of quota or resources, being compute, storage, networking, etc. And from that, we can see here we have a summary here where I have my project one. I can see, obviously it's a vanilla environment at this point, but just quickly going through some of the options here with what Deep set up for me. These are the boundaries of what I can do. I can do whatever I want within this confinement of this project one as a user. So I can go and create VMs. To create VMs, I need to create it from an image. An image in the OpenStack world is more like a template rather than an ISO file that you would create from. So what I need to do is create an image here. And I'm just going to quickly go through here and type in a Cirrus, a lightweight Linux distribution. I'm just going to give it a description as well as add a tag so I can find it easy later on. And then I'm actually going to use a URL. So I'm going to switch over to my cheat sheet here. And I have an image. Copy, and then switch back. And I'm just going to paste this in here. And then I can actually, from this image, give a few more options. I can say that this is a class of operating system by grouping. So this is obviously a Linux. I can say this is a 1.0 release. And then I can also say the type of image that I'm doing. I'm actually using a raw image at this point. And then I can also select this so I can put it into pools of applications. So I have a selection here, and I can add a new option as necessary, and it'll save that for future use. And I'm just going to say for a DB image as an example here. And I'm going to go to the image profile. So I want to deploy this. This is creating an image, so people will deploy VMs from this. If it's a operating system that will be, used for a database, for example, I can say, hey, you got to give it some horsepower with the resources I have. So I can say large or higher can be the only options when you deploy this image. Obviously, from the example that we're doing, I'm going to just choose a tiny, and I can allow the user that deploys the VM to override this at this point in time. This is obviously a very small Linux. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to use a 1 gig size of disk. And here's where we select our pool. So we've got our HDD, our SATA drives, with and without replication, and SSD to provide this functionality. So I'm just going to put it on a local drive. And I'm going to say this image is being created in Project 1, my quota of resources. Do I want to share this with other people in the business unit, the tenant that we've connected, or do I want to keep it confined to my own project at this point? So I'm just going to keep it to myself. I don't want anyone to use it. It's just my image. And I click Create Image, and there I have my template ready to go at this point. So what I can see from here then, I can go into my VM. I can actually launch from a VM here, but I'll just go through the wizard here. Create a new VM. I'm just going to call this for the sake of time. And this is basic virtualization at this point. I can choose my availability zone. If I have multiple sites, I can switch between those and to say where this VM is going to go into. And then I have my image that I've created at this point, already there, ready to go. And then I can override it if I wanted to deploy a large Cirrus VM at this point. I just select it, and it'll update all the parameters. I'll go into the advanced configuration here. Again, I've created the image. I've locked down where I want that by default to go. I can, as a user, I left it the tick box for me to override that. So I can change this if I want to put it on SSD. I just simply go here, put it on SSD, and I have the ability to do that, or lock it to what I defined in the image. And I can change the disk size as necessary. I can then also go in and decide which network. By default, each project has its own isolated network, as the discussions we've had. If we have multiple networks in that project, I can choose which network it's in if I have a tiered application, for example. I also maybe want to have access to it from the outside, so I'm going to assign a floating IP. Deep's already set up the network configuration with that router so I can get in and out traffic. And so I want to configure the networking piece to allow me this access on the virtual machine level. Click Next for security. We've got our basics, so I'm able to ping SSH into this. It's not a Windows environment, so I'm not going to use the RDP. And I don't have any key pairs configured at the moment. I have the ability to do cloud init instructions. So we're going to come back to this in a follow-up demo. But we have the ability to do customizations here as well with the image that I've been given, whether it's installing an application or changing the host name or providing OS level configuration customizations, whether it's done in the image or you can do this post so you can have an image that's continually updated and apply the same settings at the same time.
For the image file, I didn't see all the options there. Did you have an option? What I'm concerned about is if we have multiple zones, like one in San Francisco and one in New York, and we have an image file that's gigs in size, can we save images on a local volume somewhere? I didn't see that. And can we replicate them between sites? So if we have like one good known working image for Windows or something in our environment, can we replicate that somewhere in here?
So
I'm sorry.
yeah, so today you can obviously take that image and you have a San Francisco and a New York availability area zones, the data centers, and you could take an image that's in San Francisco and say deploy this in San Francisco or New York. It will be going across the WAN at that point. Best practice would be to have that image copied over to the New York data centers.
Will you take care of that?
We will take care of that. Right now, it's not there in the UI, but that's something that we will take care of offline when there's less traffic. These things can be moved across and synchronized across regions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we can see here while we were talking, we created that virtual machine. I get a summary of some of the configuration. I can go click on it. I get some more information here. What's more importantly, I have this external IP address, and I'm just going to switch over to a terminal window.
Command tab, do a command tab.
28, okay.
Command tab.
So ping 10.20.
No, it's not. Deep, just do clear and then go. It's not showing. No, do a clear so that you are on top of the screen.
There we go. Okay. Ping 10.20.
Going back to that question about your images, are you planning on having a central library essentially across all your regions?
So there is already a public library that we expose to even all customers. And actually Justin would go through some of the flavors of the image store as well as app store.
So I'm just looking at my project here. I just want to confirm a few settings here. Takes a few seconds for all of the configuration to set through the entire cloud. So I'm just going to switch back here, and here we go. So we've got our response, and at the same time, I could SH in.
You can do it again.
And Justin, that process at the moment, is that a full clone of that particular image essentially?
Is it a full clone?
Right. So that image is in a volume. A volume was created from that image, and that volume has been attached to that VM just like a disk is attached, right? So that's essentially it.
Yeah.
In some cases, it has to be a full clone because your image library is sitting on some place, some pool. But now you are creating the image on the SSD pool, let's say.
Yeah.
So then in that case, it has to copy that, and then you can.
So within the same pool, it could be
It could be copy on write even, but in across pools, it would do a clone.
Yeah.
But that's then in the same host, only on the same host.
No, if it's a replicated pool. The replicated pool is on every host.
Yeah, okay.
So the host doesn't matter in that case.
Okay.
So that's okay.
So we've shown a VM being deployed. We've shown some of the settings around the networking to get access. If we wanted to do a DevOps operation and deploy multiple projects with the same type of applications running inside those, they're basically clones and they can have all the same IPs. They will not interfere with each other because they're all isolated. What we've done is actually taken a project and extended it onto the external network. And we've done a test where from the outside we can see in and access our VM, and from the inside running on the VM here through the console, we can actually get out to the outside world as well. So this is basic virtualization with the cloud. We're going to come back and do some more advanced stuff, but I'm going to hand it back to Deep to take it to the next step.
Yeah. So I think
with for data locality, I think we scratched this, but is there ever a time where the compute is running on a different node than where the storage is at?
So if you're using the replicated pool, you are running VM on some host, but the storage is replicated. In that
But the
case,
storage is replicated, but is the compute running on the same? Is that VM running on the same?
No, because there's no HA at the moment.
VM is running on some host.
Right. So
VM storage is always local.
so does the VM have to always run on a host that has a replicated copy of the data?
No, it doesn't have to be.
So okay.
HA's come in soon, so basically.
Okay, so the VM is running in host 1 and it constantly reads and writes to storage on host number 2.
So that is possible because you are using replicated storage. So when the VM is doing reads or writes, the blocks may not be local in that case.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right. That is true for any solution for that matter. If you use a SAN, pretty much everything is remote. If you use any distributed solution, even Nutanix, SimpliVity, the blocks may be local, they may not be local.
Okay. Right. So I think the key thing to notice out here is that we've taken a piece of hardware that did not have anything in it. We've deployed a cloud. We created an environment. We actually created VMs, and in real time, in about an hour.